All right, so this presentation is going to be about hormones, six major hormones, and how you can basically manipulate them and manage them to optimize your results. From the gym, and instead of having them sabotage through your diet. Really, by manipulation, I mean through diet, proper timing of nutrients, supplementation, and general habits. Stress reduction, getting better sleep. But that's all stuff we're going to discuss. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so here are the six major players. First one is testosterone, the classic male sex hormone. Females also obviously have it, otherwise, they wouldn't be able to gain muscle. Estrogen, female sex hormone. So testosterone responsible for mainly male secondary sex characteristics, facial hair growth, um, increased muscle mass that females can't really achieve naturally because they don't have the type of testosterone ratio to estrogen. Estrogen also present in males, obviously. Otherwise, you can't really gain muscle without it being there either. Needed for joint support when it's in range properly. Otherwise, both sexes both basically have both of these, which we're gonna get to on the next slide, just in differing ratios, right? That's what makes them predominantly display the secondary sex characteristics. So insulin, huge anabolic hormone. By anabolic in this context, it means storage or building things up. That's what anabolic kind of means. So yeah, and obviously it stores glucose in the body. That's what its main function is. So it can either work in your favor, which we're going to discuss, or it can really sabotage your hard work. So you can be working out all the time in the gym, be active, be consistent, and you could just be eating, doing the wrong things in the kitchen, and really find it sabotaging all your hard work. You're not losing fat at the rate you thought you were, the rate you could be losing it at, and you're not even repairing your muscles as much because you're just doing all the wrong things. And we're gonna get into what those wrong things are and how to fix them. So yeah, the key is really to manipulate it, largely through diet in insulin's case. Leptin correlated with so basically your fat cells release leptin. The more fat cells you have, the more leptin your body creates, and this affects the hunger signal of your body. So, which we'll discuss how that signal is affected later. But yeah, basically leptin controls how hungry you feel, and so does ghrelin, which is released when you're really hungry. That literally makes you hungry. Leptin kind of is responsible for stopping the hunger signal. So it can either malfunction in that or function properly, which is the goal. Growth hormone, big one. Improves sleep, fat loss, affects aging, and growth factors. So growth factors are downstream hormones produced by growth hormone from the pituitary. So these affect muscle mass, all that stuff. It really goes hand in hand with testosterone, insulin. Okay, so those are the six major players. One more, or two more actually. Thyroid hormone, main metabolism regulator. Without proper thyroid function, your metabolism is not going to work. Okay, last one is cortisol. Main stress response signal produced by your adrenals. And it kind of goes hand in hand with insulin in a way, which we'll discuss. Okay, so let's discuss testosterone and estrogen. They're kind of, how do they go together? So here's the testosterone molecule. You have aromatase enzyme, and it makes estradiol, which is estrogen basically. Predominantly, you're gonna this process of making it into turning testosterone into estrogen is called aromatization, right? So, oops. So predominantly, you're gonna get more aromatization in females. So they have a larger ratio of estrogen or estradiol, and less in males. Now, the problem happens when you're getting excess aromatization through poor diet, or you're not producing enough testosterone through poor diet. So that's where the problem can lie here, or in the production of here. Okay, because this is coming from here. You can't really just produce this out of nowhere. So we're gonna kind of discuss in the next slide what all testosterone is responsible for: libido, mental focus, other effects in males, and also females, because females also have this. Yeah, this is the basis here, and next slide we'll discuss how to manipulate and maximize your natural testosterone levels. Okay, but that was kind of the chemical reaction that's occurring in all our bodies. Okay, so what does testosterone really do? Okay, so compare these two physiques, obviously very different. So here, suffering from lower testosterone levels, and here obviously higher. So you get increased muscle mass, more focus, more mental focus, no gynecomastia. This occurs in a higher estrogen ratio in males. Less visceral abdominal fat storage. So here, he's more shredded, he's leaner, decreased body fat. Better for heart health, better libido, and obviously better athletic performance, because everything, muscle mass, metabolism, nutrient partitioning, is affected by testosterone levels as well, and confidence and mood in men especially, and in females too. Yeah, so with this athletic performance is a huge one, and this body fat, right, and also this, well, they all are, but you're gonna be able to repair your muscles faster and do all these other things, better heart, better cardio capability, and it really affects these two, because you're literally partitioning the nutrients better. They're literally getting stored into the glycogen or into your muscle tissue, preferentially if your testosterone is on point. So how do we get it on point? So make sure you're eating enough cholesterol through your diet, because I don't know if you noticed in the last slide, most of this is a cholesterol molecule. So in the synthesis of testosterone, you literally need cholesterol to make it. If you don't have enough, you're not going to make it. So you get the egg yolks, animal fats, saturated fats in general. You need a good amount of those to be producing optimal testosterone. Vitamins, some vitamins that are important to note that do support optimal testosterone production are zinc and vitamin D. A lot of us are deficient in vitamin D, a lack of sunlight. So just fixing those two things can really boost it a lot. There's a bunch of other little ones out there that affect here and there, namely adaptogens, rhodiola, ashwagandha. They can, get your omega-3s and just general health. So weightlifting, which you want to focus on, helps testosterone a lot. If you focus on multi-joint free weight compound lifts, so those are your squats, your bench, your deadlift. Using a lot of joints, in most cases 3 joints, free weights, so not machines, and they're compound lifts. They're using a lot of muscles. In most cases, your entire posterior chain or your entire upper body, because when you combine the muscles like that and use all of them, it really has a synergistic effect in increasing your testosterone levels. Okay, getting quality sleep, so not necessarily more sleep, but quality sleep. So you're getting deep into your sleep cycle. You're not sleeping with a bunch of blue light, especially, and when you are asleep, you're maximizing the time spent sleeping. Reducing your stress. So cortisol levels can affect testosterone levels. So make sure you're not stressed out. Meditate. You're calm. Weightlifting also helps with that. It's like a form of meditation, really. Over-the-counter testosterone boosters include a lot of other little vitamins that they do work. How do they work? Basically, either promote synthesis in some way or promote excess aromatization. Like we discussed, that's the main way it's going to be malfunctioning. Vegetables, get your broccoli in is a huge one. Broccoli has DIM. It's like a compound that can prevent estrogen, just too much estrogen in the body. Okay, yeah, reduce aromatization. Okay, so let's talk about insulin. So here's the little hypothesis. We discussed this in previous presentations. You eat carbohydrates that make you fat, increase your insulin levels overall. You become resistant to them. You get obesity, and it's kind of on the road to diabetes. So this is from your transformation packet. So eat carbs. What happens? You make blood glucose. That's the only thing that can happen. So either use the glucose then and there if you're working out, like right then and there, as is in your blood. So you're gonna produce energy. You can burn the glucose off. Or if you're not gonna do that, you're just gonna sit still. Maybe eat carbs for breakfast and you're just going to work on something, you're going to produce insulin. And at that point, you can't burn fat while you have insulin produced. Okay, it's an anabolic hormone. You're going to store the glucose somewhere. It's either going in your empty muscle glycogen, or if it's full, you get the spillover effect. It's going to be the carbs are going to get turned into triglycerides stored in your fatty tissue, your adipose tissue. So they're going to get stored literally as fat. Not something you want. You want ideally. Want these to be switched. Okay, so major anabolic hormone. Yeah, you either get a trickle of it, a stream of it, or a flood. So you definitely don't want a flood. It's with simple sugars. You really want a trickle or a stream with more complex carbs. Controls your blood glucose. Yeah, so sensitivity to it is good, because when you're more insulin sensitive, you need less insulin released to have the same effect versus when you're insulin resistant. Okay, so let's talk about insulin resistance. How does it hear all the little things it really leads to? Basically, it's an inflammatory condition, right? Leads to diabetes, obesity, downstream things. It's just not a good state for your body to be in. So how does it really happen? Here's a basic premise behind it. You eat carbs, make insulin. Your cells are resisting insulin because they're so resistant to it. And you need higher and higher levels always for the cells to act on it. So if they're resisting it, the sugar is getting stored as fat because the sugar can't be shuffled into the cell, right, and stored or used. So then now you're feeling tired and hungry because the sugar stored as fat. You get the dip in energy, and then you're hungry again because your blood glucose is depleted. So it's a vicious cycle. So how do we escape this, right? So indicator of poor metabolism, it's really leading to obesity on the road to diabetes. And it can lead to decreased thyroid function, largely through decreased conversion from T4 to T3, the active thyroid hormone. We'll discuss that later. Okay, so it's common in carbohydrate-heavy diets, obviously because you're producing a lot of glucose, you're making more insulin released. So you can combat this through eating less carbs in your diet, first of all. So it's this condition where you're desensitized to insulin. And more is required to get the same effect. How do you fix it? Okay, so you become insulin sensitive. Less carbs. You can fast. When you're in a fasted state, we discussed kind of earlier why ketosis is good and how fasting relates to that. When you're in a fasted state, you're literally burning your muscle glycogen for fuel, and so glycogen's gone. We're also burning fats at the same time with the glycogen. When the glycogen is gone, you have no other choice but to burn body fat. So you're going to be burning your body fat. And in that state, when you're fasted, you're going to be more insulin sensitive because you're not getting the glucose in. Your body's kind of becoming more sensitive to insulin the whole time you're fasted because you're not eating food. It's a chance for your body to repair everything. Weight training also depletes the glycogen really fast. So, because you're literally using all your muscles and they're going to use the glycogen, convert to glucose and use it. So that's really great for it, especially the compound loads like we discussed, and in general, less carbs in your diet. And when you do eat carbs, better timed carbs and better quality carbs. So after your workouts and complex carbs largely, and less stress. So 4 easy ways to fix insulin resistance. Okay, because cortisol, more cortisol release does increase insulin release. Okay, let's talk about leptin. So typically, we eat fat gets stored if you're insulin resistant, or in general you're storing fat. Your fat cells, the more you have, the more leptin you secrete. So you're going to secrete leptin. Now your brain sees this increased leptin, right? And typically it should be a signal to stop eating. And it is. Your brain senses leptin, and it tells your body to stop feeling hungry. But it malfunctions sometimes. Why? Because you're leptin resistant. So same idea as insulin resistant, you need more leptin to have the same effect. But you're producing so much that you need more and more. So you're not getting the signal. Okay, so that's on the next slide, but let's talk about what leptin does really. Main fat cells. Yeah, so when you have low leptin levels, you're hungry, your metabolism is slowed. And so you get high levels, and then your brain gets signal to stop feeling hungry. So here's what leptin resistance is. Because you have more fat cells, they create more leptin. Brain becomes desensitized, like I said. And your brain is the one that controls the leptin response. It gets a signal from the leptin. Okay, that's what I mean by that. So when it overeats, you get the same leptin response. You keep eating because you're not feeling like you're done being hungry yet. Okay, so it's caused by restricting your calories, insulin, blood sugar issues, insulin resistance in general, obesity, stress, overeating, increased fat, eating a lot of high fructose corn syrup just in general. So all things to avoid. Correlated with increased insulin resistance. So you're more resistant to insulin. You're typically going to be more resistant to leptin in general. Little double-edged, like, two swords for fat storage, really. So you're getting both effects there. Okay, so how to manage leptin. First, you can start by managing your insulin. Typically do that, your leptin will start getting in line. Manage your stress better overall, because cortisol is affected. So include protein and fiber to slow digestion. This is important because when you slow digestion, your brain has more time to catch up and get that hunger signal to stop feeling hungry. Because the time is around 10 to 20 minutes to get that signal. So eat to 80% full, wait, you get the signal. But in general, include more protein, fiber, complex carbs, and fats too will slow digestion. Okay, instead of just eating fast, like easy digested carbs all the time, they're digested very fast. Okay, so growth hormone produced here in the pituitary. What it does basically, muscle growth, bone growth in adolescents when their growth plates aren't closed. Okay, not really in adults. And downstream effects, it triggers your fat cells to break down the fat. The liver breaks down the glycogen and releases into glucose. Okay, you produce insulin-like growth factors. These are kind of a downstream growth hormone almost. Stimulates protein synthesis, so basically making muscle, repairing all your cells. Okay. Now, how do we optimize this? Keeps you looking youthful, well rested. IGF-1. Okay, so how do we optimize this? So no carbs before bedtime. Why? So yeah, definitely don't eat carbs before bedtime. This is a big thing because you eat carbs before bedtime, you're making insulin because you're releasing glucose, and insulin growth hormone cannot coexist in the blood at the same time. Okay, so that's why no carbs before bedtime. That's going to be the main key to maximizing growth hormone. Really, you gotta eat carbs after your workout, and not like within 2 hours before bed. So let's talk about thyroid hormone now. Main two thyroid hormones, T3, T4. Okay, so responsible for increased metabolism, growth and development in general, and increased catecholamine effects. So downstream effects, cortisol. Okay. So one is active form, one's inactive. It's really the major player in whole body metabolic regulation. Okay, so T4 gets converted to T3, which is the active form, gets converted to reverse T3 to tell it to stop converting into this. Okay, get the negative feedback there. So this is not something you can really control, this level, but what you can control is through diet, kind of optimizing this conversion. So limit eating certain foods known as goitrogens. Limit eating them raw, instead steam them or cook them. Example of goitrogens, they interfere with thyroid levels basically. Broccoli is one. Okay. Cauliflower, a couple vegetables there. Support its optimal production and conversion to what you can really control. And you can do that, you can support that in general by being insulin sensitive. So it all goes together really. Okay. And that's the main way you're going to do that. I hope you can see how it all connects together. All these hormones really tie into each other, right? So cortisol, let's talk about this graphic. So this is normal person. This is someone with an increased adrenal response, okay? So this is a bad thing because you're getting adrenal fatigue, which is basically sensitization to cortisol, okay? Or you release more, you're sensitized, your adrenals are overworked, basically. Okay, so normal, okay, abnormal, you're closer to the high range limit, and that's not somewhere you want to be at. Why? It's because it kind of keeps you feeling fatigued and doesn't have that good effects on thyroid hormone and insulin. It does affect insulin resistance. It actually makes you more resistant. It sabotages your weight loss efforts if you're stressed all the time, releasing all this cortisol. Other ways you release lots of cortisol: drinking a ton of coffee, a lot of stimulants in general. They do release cortisol, so limit coffee consumption, and definitely not after, like, in the evening or after the afternoon, especially, because it will interfere with sleep. Okay. So that's pretty much it for this presentation. Hope you guys saw how they all tie in together with each other. Okay, 6 major players, how to manipulate them for your goals.